Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Mason Community Center. On behalf of Mayor David Nichols and City Manager Eric Hansen, thank you for your attendance. These young men do a great job in the community, and we appreciate the support they've given to this program. I'm Jerry Skorsky. I'm the Secretary of Pillars of Honor. And over these next few minutes, we're going to step back in time. Not a week, not a month, not even a year. You might have to test your memory. And some of you may not remember these songs, but some of you will. We're going to step back in time about 60 years. Picture this 60 years ago. Your mom or dad, maybe your grandmother or grandfather, had an AM radio the size of this podium. That AM radio had 5 or 6 AM stations broadcasting throughout the day, and a couple might have broadcasted until dark. The music you heard then was something like this. This is John Atwood, founder of the History Singers, but he's only half the History Singers. John fills in for his wife very well. John Atwood from the History Singers. Thank you.
December 7th, 1941, our land of freedom was defied. December 8th, 1941, Uncle Sam replied, "We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. We got a heck of a job to do, and you can bet that we'll see it through. We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. We're one for all, we're all for one. They'll get a licking before we're done. Millions of voices are ringing, singing as we march along. We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. We'll knock them over and then we'll get the guys back to them. We did it before and we'll do it again. We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. We know we're right and we also know that gangsterism has got to go. We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. When we get going and start to click, we'll put the axe to the axis quick. Millions of voices are ringing, singing as we march along. We did it before and we can do it again, and we will do it again. This country never has lost a war from the days of William Penn. We did it before and we'll do it again. Thank you very much. As Jerry said, part of a program called the History Singers, we do musical programs showing how much and how important song was in American history. Do you know that during the course of this American Civil War, 10,000 songs were written and published and distributed during the course of the war on both sides? And in later conflicts, World War I, World War II, not only the printing business, but when electricity came along, recordings, radio, and then eventually movies all got into service to support the war efforts during those times. And it's an amazing body of music that was turned out during that time. We're going to go through a couple of key songs here from the World War II era. And I need to make something really an important announcement. The United States is a free country. And what that means musically is that anybody who feels like singing cannot be stopped from singing if they want to. It also means that somebody that doesn't need to feel compelled to do so. So if you know these songs and would like to join in and sing along, you are completely within your rights to do so, and you do so with our blessing. If not, just sit and enjoy. The next song I'm going to do is a song that was called "When the Lights Go On Again." The song was first recorded here in the United States by a young man named Vaughn Monroe. It was his first big hit. And later on, anybody who knows the era, back in the 50s, he did Ghost Riders in the Sky. Not a whole lot of people here probably know that, but except the veterans. But it was also recorded by Vera Lynn in England with a very lush, wonderful set of string arrangement behind it. And my wife and I, we do it, we kind of blend it together. You're getting the Guy version of it here today. When we have our victory and we've added to our history, it will be right there to see how sweet and simple life can be when the lights go on again. The song gives an indication of the darkness that beset the planet at this time. This song came out in 1942. 1942, I didn't live then, but I'm a history major, and I've come to the conclusion 1942 had to be one of the darkest years in American history. You know, my generation looked back on World War II, and of course we won, and yes, it was all a snap. But actually in 1942, nothing was a snap. The Germans and Japanese were pushing down everything in front of them, every place they went. Pearl Harbor had just been attacked. There'd been rumors of Japanese submarines on the West Coast, and people were pretty scared, nervous, anxious. And this next song came along and was kind of a shot in the arm to get everybody going. And the song itself has a story. I want to give you the introduction here. Down went the gunner, a bullet was his fate. Down went the gunner, and then the gunner's mate. Up jumped the sky pilot, gave the boys a look, and manned the gun himself as he laid aside the book. Sky Pilot is a chaplain in the story. Supposedly he's at Pearl Harbor. When the shooting began, a chaplain laid aside his Bible and grabbed a gun when a gunner went down and started shooting back at the Japanese. Well, actually, that didn't really happen that way. It was probably more of the story that the chaplain was down below decks in one of the battleships when the shooting started. The elevators weren't working so well, so they had to hand pass the ammunition up to the deck to fire. And he didn't know what else to do, so he stood on the side, tried to encourage everybody, and said, "Praise the Lord," and passed the ammunition. But whatever the real story is, the song became the only song in American history I know of where the federal government, or at least one department, issued a directive to radio stations asking them to limit the play of the song to no more than once every 4 hours. The radio stations were flooded with requests for this song because in a sort of just barely irreverent way and kind of little poke in the ribs way, but also sort of a serious way, the song kind of jolted everybody out of the worry, anxiety, fear, and got people going and put a sort of a stride in their step. And here is the song. It's called Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition. 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 And we'll all stay free. Praise the Lord and swing into position. Can't afford to be a politician. Praise the Lord, we're all between perdition and the deep blue sea. Yes, the sky pilot said it. You gotta give him credit for a son of a gun that done was he. Shout and praise the Lord. We're on a mighty mission. All aboard. We're not going fishing. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, and we'll all stay free. Thank you very much. When it comes to the music of wartime, an important genre of music is what's referred to as separation songs. And this next one is probably the most connected, most famous, whatever song of the World War II era. It's called I'll Be Seeing You. It actually wasn't written during the war, it was written a few years before. It was part of a failed Broadway play, but many people recorded it. It was Billie Holiday and many, many other people recorded the song. It became very famous, and then it was the servicemen that sort of took hold of it, and it was very popular in the war. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. 1942 produced one more song, which I'm not going to do here today, but it is the most popular American song of all time. Does anybody know what it is? It's White Christmas. At the end of that depressing year, when a huge number of boys were either shipped down south to places like Camp Lejeune or Georgia or Southern California for training, or were overseas in North Africa, or lovely places like Guadalcanal, I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas was the song that really kind of got everybody and made them realize what it was they were fighting for. I know that when I was growing up, every time we had Christmas, my dad insisted we had to have White Christmas playing. He was in the South Pacific during World War II. This next one is a song about the experience of being a soldier. One of the things I'm very proud about as American is that of all the great powers that have ever existed on this planet, we're the only one that didn't become great by trouncing on other people and stealing their property
and grinding them into the ground. Rather, what we do is we mind our own business, we look for peace, and then if we're pushed and there's nothing else that can be done, then, as one author one time put it, citizen soldiers come forward and take up the call and defend the country. You know, whatever you may think about America, you got to ask yourself this question. What do you think would have happened if the Romans had gotten the atomic bomb first? If the Assyrians had gotten it first, if the Germans had got it first, if Napoleon had got it first, if the British Empire had got it first? Thankfully, the one nation who wasn't disposed to use it was the one that got it first. And as an American, that makes you very proud. You know, we stand up when we have to, not because we love it. This next one, though, when soldiers go, it's a little bit of a transition to go from farm boy to soldier. Not always easy, maybe a little funny in retrospect. This song by Irving Berlin captures is called "This is the Army, Mr. Jones." A bunch of frightened rookies were listening, filled with awe. They listened while the sergeant was laying down the law. They stood there at attention, their faces turning red. The sergeant looked them over, and this is what he said. This is the Army, Mr. Jones. No frightens or telephones. You had your breakfast in bed before, but you won't have it there anymore. This is the Army, Mr. Green. We like to barracks nice and clean. You had a housemaid to sweep the floor, but she won't help you out anymore. Do what the buglers command. They're in the Army, they're not in the band. This is the Army, Mr. Brown. You and your baby went to town. She had you worried, but this is war, and she won't worry you anymore. Thank you. Waging war is expensive, actually. You have to come up with resources to be able to keep putting out guns and tanks and all that. And during World War II, it got kind of tough. If you've seen the movie Flags of Our Fathers, you realize that things were getting kind of edgy toward the end. The way that we financed the war production was through the selling of bonds. And both soldiers and folks at home got the chance to buy bonds and support the war effort. Irving Berlin again had a song for this. I actually saw a YouTube video where this was performed by Bugs Bunny, of all people. But lots of people did this. It's called Any Bonds Today. The tall man with the high hat and the whiskers on his chin will soon be knocking at your door, and you'll be in. The tall man with the high hat will be coming down your way to get your savings out when you hear him shout, "Any bonds today? Any bonds today? Bonds of freedom is what I'm selling. Any bonds today? Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man asking you to buy a share of freedom today. Any stamps today? We'll be blessed if we all invest in the USA. Here comes the freedom man. Can't make tomorrow's plan not unless you buy a share of freedom today. Any bonds today? Bonds of freedom is what I'm selling. Any bonds today? Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man asking you to buy a share of freedom today. Any bonds today? All you get will be spent to live in the Yankee way. Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom Franks, and then came the Poles, and then the Norwegians with 3 million souls. Then came the Dutch, Belgium, and France, and all of the Balkans with hardly a chance. It's all in the book, if only you look, it's there if you read the text. They fell everyone at the point of a gun. America mustn't be next. Any bonds today will be blessed if we all invest in the USA. Here comes the freedom man. Can't make tomorrow's plan, not unless you buy a share of freedom today. Yes, buy your share of freedom today. Thank you. This last one is in the category of separation songs, but actually, and looking up the history of the song, it didn't actually get recorded and put on the radio until after the war was over, right during the time period when the GIs had been coming home. And the song is, and how do you describe a situation with all the terror, the emotion, the trial of World War II, and people who separated, not knowing if they'd ever see each other again. Sons and mothers, husbands, wives, lovers, brothers, and then they actually survive the war and come back again. What do you say at a moment like that? The writer of this song said, you can't say anything. This song is all about understatement. It's called It's Been a Long, Long Time. Never thought that you would be standing here so close to me. There's so many things that I should say, but words can wait until some other day. Just kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Haven't felt like this, my dear, since can't remember when. It's been a long, long time. You'll never know how many dreams I dreamed about you, or just how empty they all seem without you. So kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Sing along if you wish. Kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Haven't felt like this, my dear, since can't remember when. It's been a long, long time. You'll never know how many dreams I dreamed about you, or just how empty they all seem without you. So kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Thank you very much. And all that is offered in thank you to the generation that served in World War II. I know many of my compatriots know we would not be here if it wasn't for what you guys did. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, and have a great day here.
I think all of us should give John another hand, special applause. Thank you, John. And we'll also tell Catherine what an excellent job you did. My name is Dave Murphy. I'm Vice President of Pillars of Honor, and I want to welcome all of you here today. Our next part of our program is going to be the presentation of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem. So now I would like to turn over the program now to the Color Guard Commander representing the American Legion Post 194 and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 966 of Mason, Ohio. Color Guard Commander. For those that can stand, please stand. Now I'd like to call up John Looker, past commander of Post 194 for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'd like to call up Elaine Santos, Choral Director of Mason High School. Elaine?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets brand clear, the bombs bursting in there, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Flag bearers, about hey! Forward, hey! President, color! And salute. Left page. Forward. Hey, hey! Forward, hey!
Now I'd like to call up Kim Zimmer from the VFW Ladies Auxiliary, State of Ohio, District 4, the Senior Vice President.
Thank you. Would you kindly remove your hats as we say our prayer? God, we thank you for the friends and the families that are here today. We thank you for the people that provided the room, prepared the food, and made this program possible, but we are especially grateful for our World War II veterans that are with us today. They fought for our freedoms that are still enjoyed. We ask your blessing and protection for those men and women that are serving in our armed forces of the United States of America, and for comfort and support of the families that are here at home. Amen.
Be seated, please. Earlier, I introduced myself. Again, it's Dave Murphy, Vice President of Pillars of Honor, but I'm also a veteran, Vietnam. I served in the Army. I am truly honored to be here today with so many heroes and legends who served our nation during World War II. We truly thank you for your service for our nation in its time of need. Pillars of Honor started in April 2010 when 5 members of Honor Flight left that mission and started this one. When we were with Honor Flight, we saw the no-fly list growing faster than the ones that could fly. We knew that we had to do something for the men and women who couldn't go to Washington to see their memorial. So we contacted the architect, Friedrich St. Florian, and told him we wanted to bring a day of honor to those who, for one reason or another, could not make the trip to Washington, D.C. So, with the loan of the original model that Senator Dole presented to Congress, we began. And with each program that we do, we are remembered how important our mission is. You men and women raised your right hand and said you would serve our country wherever they needed you. 5 branches of the service with many jobs to perform. Some served on the front lines, while others served in support. You didn't ask for the job you performed, but they needed you where they put you. And no matter what job you did, whether on the front line or in support, each job was as important as the other. You see, 1 out of 10 served in combat, while the others served to support that one individual. If each job wasn't performed and the chain was broken, that frontline soldier was in trouble. So, no matter what your job in the service, it was as important as that frontline soldier, and we thank you for what you did. You faced a determined foe and came away victorious. In 2 different theaters, you not only talked the talk, but walked the walk. You set the bar high for those of us that came after you. We know that future generations will look at you warriors and say, these World War II veterans defined the phrase, home of the brave. You men and women taught us what it was like to be a patriot and about love of country. You taught us about humility. You left your homes, served your country, returned home, and picked up where you left off, never complaining, never bragging. just happy to be home and happy to have served your country. Some of you have talked about your days in the service, and we thank you for sharing that part of history. Some of you haven't talked about your service, and we ask that you share your experiences, good or bad, serious or funny, with your friends and family. You see, folks need to hear your part of history, so that history is not lost. You are a national treasure, and the next generation needs to know of your deeds, not just for what you did for our country, but for what you did for all mankind. Again, I thank you for your service to our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marty Jane. I too am a Vietnam veteran and the proud son of a World War II veteran. I'm just a volunteer with Pillars of Honor, but it affords me the opportunity to get out and shake hands with World War II veterans. And I say, when I shake hands with a World War II veteran, my father is passed, but I see my father in World War II veterans' eyes, and it gives me great pleasure. So thank you for being here today. Since the beginning of our nation, Americans have always fought to defend our freedoms. Americans have always stood tall when called to defend our land. We salute you, our veterans, who solemnly swore they would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, that they would bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and they should obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of officers appointed over them, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They end this time-honored, revered oath by saying, "So help me God." Pillars of Honor now presents a salute to our patriots. When you hear your service song, please rise if you are able and be recognized for your deeds. The United States Army. The United States Navy. United States Coast Guard. United States Marines.
Can everybody please stand and give our honored heroes a round of applause? Like I like to say, if it wasn't for the World War II veterans, we'd all be speaking German right now. Please be seated. Thank you. These flags represent all the men and women who made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country from all 5 branches of service. The Color Guard will now build a monument in front of you, a monument that anyone who has ever served in the military will recognize. The weapon. The central part of the monument is the weapon. This weapon has been inspected, the magazine removed, the last round has been fired. The dog tags. These military identification tags are commonly referred to as dog tags. This set is blank. No name, no serial number, no religious preference. They represent all those who have died in the service of our country. The helmet, a valuable piece of equipment, more than just for protection. How many have shaved, bathed, and even cooked out of it? This helmet will no longer be used. The helmet we are using in our program today is from Dave Murphy, Vice President of Pillars of Honor, who wore it during Vietnam in 1969 through 1970. The boots. These boots are worn. They demonstrate the trials endured. These boots, which are treadbare, shall never again touch the ground, which is why they are being placed on the sandbag. The pair of boots used in our program today is from our former president of Pillars of Honor, Mr. Steve Schaefer, who wore them during Vietnam, 1967 through 1971. The flag. The folded flag being carried in is in honor of all the men and women from all 5 branches of service who paid the supreme sacrifice. The flag being used today is a 48-star Navy ensign that flew aboard the USS Arizona in the 1950s. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. The empty chair to the side of the battlefield monument is draped with the POW-MIA flag. The chair is empty, remembering that there are those comrades who have not yet returned home. Those comrades are listed as missing in action or prisoners of war. We will not forget them, so the empty chair awaits their return.
The battle's o'er and peace is all around you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. The cannon's roar can never more disturb you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. The journey is ended, your work here is done. Sleep, soldier boy, and rest. Your flag it defended, the victory you won. Sleep on among the best. The sun's gone down and darkness has enclosed you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. A mother's arms are waiting to enfold you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. The time is not long when the bugle will sound forth, must bring you back again. You weep with the dawning and answer to roll call. Sleep, soldier boy, till then.
And salute. One.
gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today. I asked that everybody in the program book that was handed out has a little bio on Bill in there. Bill served in the Army during World War II as a PFC. He was in the 1st Scout of the 2nd Squad, 2nd Battalion, E Company, 2nd Platoon, the 115th Regiment Combat Team of the 29th Division. If you don't think that's a mouthful. Okay, also, Bill was part of the invasion of France on D-Day on June the 6th, 1944 at Omaha Beach. He has written a book of his memoirs, his medals during his time. He received the Knight of the French Legion of Honor, a Bronze Star, 2 Purple Hearts, the World War II Medal, European Theater Medal, and a Good Conduct Medal. And not only that, but on June the 6th, there's going to be a TV special on Bill. So now I would like to introduce Mr. William Welch to tell his story.
Hi, my name is Bill Wills from Middletown, Ohio. I noticed when they played the Marine hymn, I only seen one Marine over here. Is there any more Marines over here? You know what I want to say to you guys? Semper Fi. Hoorah! Like they say, I was a PFC in an infantry outfit in the ETO. We were stationed in England for over a year, training at different training facilities. We had casualties and training just like we did in combat, drownings, short rounds, coming out of a mortar tube, artillery fire, falling short. But anyway, you don't want to hear that gory stuff. I just want to tell you, I'm not a hero. I served with some, and I know a lot of them, and I remember their name, but I'm not a hero. And I want to tell you what a hero is. There's no way that I can explain to you, or the History Channel, or any of these other channels on TV, can convey to you what it was like on June the 6th, 1944, in Normandy, France, the Great Assault. Any of you people here that lost family members in that assault? It was deadly. It was a Holocaust. It was a killing field. It was everything you heard about. But I want to tell you, the American infantry, artillery, everybody involved in that invasion, especially assault, were magnificent. Were magnificent. They charged into death knowing that they're not going to touch French soil, they're not going to fight there, they're not going to do anything because of the tremendous fire that the Germans put up. They were magnificent. You don't know what bravery is. They cannot put bravery like they had on television, radio, nothing else. You'd have to be there. But I want to tell you, mothers and fathers that lost sons, you kids that lost grandpas, uncles, and aunts, they were magnificent. They kept coming. Not one guy backed down. Not one guy hesitated. The word hesitation was not in the vocabulary of the assault troops. It was terrible. It was made during the end of a terrible storm in the channels. And I can tell you what the English Channel tastes like. It tastes like diesel fuel, blood, and other things that you don't want to mention. And it's not blue, it's not green, it's a dirty gray. And it's rough all the time. But to get back to the invasion, after the invasion, a lot of people don't realize it didn't last for one day. Our unit caught hell 4 days later, worse than the invasion, on June the 10th. The Germans got behind us and slaughtered us. My son can tell you we had officers killed. My battalion commander's buried on top of the hill over there at St. Laurent. My platoon leader's buried there. My other platoon leader's buried there. All my friends, the chaplain and everybody is buried in that big cemetery. It was a Holocaust. It was a slaughter. But there was no hesitation, no griping. I did not meet any French people all the time I was there. I served in Normandy, made the initial assault, and then served up near the Falaise Gap up near Belgium when we had the German 7th Army trapped on the Belgian border, and we let them get away with their armor, and their armor went to Arnhem. Any of you see the movie A Bridge Too Far? The airborne assault on Holland? Any of you ever seen that? You seen it? That would not have happened if us Americans and the British and the Poles and the French or whoever was left there could have closed that gap and trapped that army. But they got away, and they went to Arnhem, where they slaughtered American paratroopers, wiped out the British 1st Airborne, and there was a Holocaust there. But that's another thing. I got to see the one thing in combat. I got to see a 1,000 plane raid by B-50 or by B-17s and B-24s bombing in what they call the bomber stream. You Air Force guys know what I'm talking about. It lasted for miles, and you couldn't talk because the noise was so bad that you couldn't hear nothing except the B-17s and the B-24s. And is there anybody here from the Air Force that flew P-47s in World War II? Anybody? I can't find one. The reason why I want to meet him is on August 14th, we were strafed, you know what strafing is, by 3 P-47s with a yellow ring around their nose. And I'm telling you, that's the most horrible thing that you ever want to go through, is a strafing by P-47s with their 8 machine guns. We had casualties. A boy from Middletown was killed that day, Warren Stamper, but I can't find anybody that was a flyer that day. The only thing I wanted to say to him was, ha ha, you missed me. They made 2 passes at us. And I'll tell you, you don't want to ever be strafed by the United States Air Force. And I want to mention, my son wrote a book called, I know you guys are not going to understand the title, it's called Don't Kill 'Em, Pee-wee, Murder 'Em. And that comes from a young man from Texas, a blonde, blue-eyed guy named Brittany Murphy, who I served with in England and France. He was a Texas boy. His dad was a ranch hand down there. They were very poor. The only son, the only one in the family, very few uncles and aunts. but he was the best damn soldier I ever seen. He saved my life I believe, on 2 occasions. He kept me out of POW camps twice by shooting a guy, by killing the Germans that were asked us to surrender. I think he only went to the 8th grade, I'm not sure, but that's irrelevant. He had great big eyes, blonde hair, but for some reason, I guess guys in the Marine Corps might have seen some guys like this. He could see things that you can't see. You can't see. The Germans were great camouflage people. They camouflaged everything. But I'll give you an instance of him. You'd be walking along a ditch or something, and all of a sudden, these tracers go right by your head. You'd think, my God, the Jerry's got us zeroed in. It wasn't a German, it was him. He was behind us in the column, and he seen Germans in a church steeple, or in some shrubs or growth or something. And he would scream at the rest of us, shoot, you guys, what the hell's the matter? Shoot, 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 Pee-wee, shoot, kill him, murder him. We thought he was crazy. If we got a chance, we went down, and there was the dead Germans piled up. I never seen a guy like him, but he got killed in Brest in September. And I think that's when the Germans decided to surrender, when Murphy got killed. I'm not sure. But anyway, I wanted to tell you about that great guy. And if you have any questions, you can answer me. I don't know all of them, but all the answers. But there's so many things to tell you that I can't tell you because it's gory and it's boring. You've heard all. And the only thing I can tell you is if you want to have some kind of an idea what it was like to fight the ETO, European Theater of Operations, watch Saving Private Ryan. The first 26 minutes of the show is all about the invasion and the assault. The rest of it's all Hollywood. After the assault's over and all that stuff, you might as well turn it off, because it gets down to where they talk dirty and all that stuff, make fun of each other's mother. And I want to tell you something. The unit I was in, you didn't mention or say anything about any of your comrades' mother, brother, or family members, or you would get the H beat out of you or maybe shot. We were comrades, band of brothers. Never forget that. All you guys that are World War II veterans, I didn't know it till about halfway through the war. We're a band of brothers. We're a band of brothers. Army, Navy, Marine, and you know, a lot of people don't know it, but the U.S. Coast Guard had a lot to do with the Normandy invasion. A lot. They come from Mediterranean, North Africa and stuff. And I was really amazed at the bravery of the American youth. I was one of them, but I'm not saying I was brave. I followed a guy in front of me. On D-Day, I lost my captain. He was the first officer that went down the ramp. I don't know whatever happened to him. I lost my best friend. The medic was running beside me. He went down. And the only thing I can tell you, my version, I was scared to death I was going to drown. Did you people know that more people drowned on the Normandy invasion that was killed by bullets, shrapnel, or anything like that? The channel had so many bodies in it that they moved the assault down 1,000 yards because they didn't want the landing craft and the LCVPs and Higgins boats coming in and hitting these bodies. Propellers was chewing them up. They was going over top of them, pushing them down. There were so many bodies in the channel that they moved it the assault down 1,000 yards. I landed on Omaha Beach, and the beach was called Easy Green. And Fox Green was next to it. And what the Germans had done was dug what they called exits. I landed at a place called St. Laurent-sur-Mer, and there was an exit there. That's what we went up if we could get up it. And in Colville were the big cemeteries. If any of you young people can afford it sometime, I wish you'd go to Normandy and see the big cemetery there. There's almost 10,000 Americans there. 10,000 in a short period of time. 10,000. I'm not going to go into the gore because you wouldn't enjoy it anyway, but they're like the guys on the History Channel and stuff. They're like, I seen this, I seen that, I seen the bullet go out there. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to talk about that. I could tell you all kinds of stuff, but the first thing we done is when we got ashore. They had bluffs. When that ramp went down, and I seen all. I don't know, any of you guys in Europe, the Germans had multicolored tracers, red, yellow, blue, green, and they crisscross across the beach like that, but Americans run right into it. They run right into it. Well, I lowered my head. I have no idea how I held my rifle, or I held it down here, put it underneath my armpit, or put it on my shoulder and run. But I'll tell you what, I got to those bluffs, and I beat Jesse Owens' record for the 300-yard dash by 20 seconds. I know I did. And when I got there, I was so out of breath I couldn't hardly breathe. And lo and behold, there was an anti-tank ditch there. You're already wet from the channel up to here. Body. Then you had to go through that anti-tank ditch to get to the bluffs where we couldn't see the Germans. They was dug in up there. But we finally made it, and I seen more heroism in the first 5 or 6 days. I had the most wonderful platoon commander. His name was Richard Donnelly, and Kermit Miller, who won the Distinguished Service Cross, and my battalion commander. They're all buried up there on top of the hill. They were wonderful men. They treated us with respect and everything else. But I want to say something else. I've never heard it said except recently. The American ground forces were outgunned in Europe. Our tankers, if there's any tankers here, God bless you guys. I don't know how in the heck you made it. I don't know how you made it with those 88s and Panzerfaust. I don't know how you did it. You ought to talk to an armor guy sometime. A guy was in the tanks. He can tell you some hair-raising stories. But anyway, they had most of their stuff they had was high velocity. 88 high velocity, 76 high velocity. Everything was high velocity. And they had this, what you call a Panzerfaust. It was like a bazooka. We call it bazooka. It outgunned anything we had. It'd take one of our tanks and set it on fire immediately. And then they had the world-famous MG-42, the fastest firing machine gun. You guys know that I think the world's ever seen. I know they have this one now at the planes, but the German machine gun. If the German hit you firing that machine gun, you didn't get one bullet. You got at least 2 or 3 because they were so fast. And a lot of times they shot low from a tripod down hedgerows. That'd catch you here, and you'd fall into the burst. It not only if you didn't fall in the burst and get killed, you was terribly wounded. And wounded soldiers don't win wars. They can't. They put a burden on our medical corps, on our country with everything. But I just wanted you people to know that there's a soldier out there you've never heard of, Brittany Murphy. They could make a movie about him and you wouldn't believe. Just a poor boy from Texas. Was raised hard. And what we found out is that he learned to shoot to feed his family during a depression. Rabbits, squirrels, anything. And like some of the people in Texas told me that, Bill, life was very hard in Texas during a depression. And Burfing supported his family with a .22 rifle and a horse, with a saddle. You didn't want to know when people had a saddle. But that's what I wanted to convey. I'm not a hero. There's a bunch of them probably sitting over here won't say nothing. But don't be embarrassed to be an American. Be a patriot. Stand up for your country. Stand up for veterans. Stand up for your family. And I'm going to tell you something. I know you guys have heard this. There is no atheist in a foxhole. Never. And the first thing a young soldier that gets hit, wounded real bad, screams out is mom. Oh, mom, 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 or God. They don't cuss and rage, all that sort, but you can't believe what mothers are. And this book that my son wrote, how it come about, everything I sent her, she put in an ammunition box, chronology. The day you could find out, go through and find out what you want to find out on that day. And she saved all that. And my son's sitting over here that wrote the book. I didn't write it. He went through all that stuff, him and his wife sitting there in the white, and wrote this book that people just love. But don't be afraid to be a patriot. Don't even be apprehensive about it. Tell everybody, God bless America. I'm an American. And support your soldiers. Do everything you can. No negative talk about our soldiers in Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever they've been. No negative talk. If you can't say anything positive, don't say it. And I want to take this time to thank all the Vietnam veterans, especially with what they had to go through while they was fighting in a hellhole called Vietnam. The country didn't support them like they should, and I want to thank them for their service. All you Vietnam veterans. You might have been the bravest of the brave, I don't know. With the way the country treated you while you were gone, some of the things I heard that they done to you at airports and things, but that's another story. But I just want to tell you, thank you, Vietnam veterans. You're a band of brothers. Is there any questions anybody has? Anything? What was it like to be on a landing craft? Wet, cold. One thing about an assault troop, you're always going to be wet. You're always going to be cold. You're always going to be hungry. You're always going to be thirsty. And you're always tired. I got to the place where I could, if we stopped, I found a big tree and leaned up against it, and I could catch a few winks. And I had one fella, or we did, our platoon, he could sleep walking. We'd be walking and you'd hear him going, and you'd touch him and say, yeah. Steve has his name. Is there any questions? Do you guys know a guy, an Air Force guy that flew a P-47? Tell him I said, he missed me. And I know it sounds funny, but it wasn't funny then. Hey, I got to get off the stage here. Been great talking to you. I hope I didn't bore you or anything like that. But the American youth's okay. You young kids are going to be all right. You're going to carry on for us. And in my book, I sign everything, have a good life. The way that come about was to come home on a German ship, captured German liner that we didn't know anything about. The sailors didn't know how to run it. We were scared of it, but anyway, aboard that ship in New York Harbor, when we was about ready to disembark, we had a whole group of us was talking, said, you know what, with what we've been through, they didn't pay us enough. We got, you know, and one of the guys says, quote, we didn't do it for pay, we didn't do it for us. We done it for the future generations to have a good life.
We honor and admire many people, musicians, athletes, actors, actresses, America's hero, Bill Wills. Bill, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you being here. Bill was looking at my script. I get to follow him, and he must have been looking at some of my notes. For some of you, if you haven't been to Washington, D.C., it's a great family trip. If you've made the trip, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you made the trip with your family. Some of you may have made the trip with one of the Honor Flight networks. Our office is in Des Plaines, and Honor Flight Chicago is the hub for the Chicagoland area. Cincinnati, I believe, is the hub for Tri-State. It's a great day, but sometimes during the day, if it's a cloudy day, rainy day, windy day, a day when school is out, you get to miss or don't get to see or hear everything that happens, or why and how the World War II Memorial was built. And what we're going to do over these next few minutes is do a quick walkthrough. For those of you who haven't gone, or unfortunately some of you who will never be able to go see the memorial itself. Honored World War II veterans, Pillars of Honor is happy to be here today and present to you this scale model of your memorial that's in Washington, D.C. This is the original model used by Senator Bob Dole to present to Congress for final approval of the memorial's design. This first picture is your memorial taken from the top of the Washington Monument. On the left side is the Pacific Archway. On the right side is the Atlantic Archway. The plaza of the memorial is 337 feet long, 240 feet wide. There are two primary objectives that govern the design of the World War II Memorial. First and foremost, it honors a generation of Americans who changed forever the face of American life and the direction of world history. The second objective is the setting of the memorial into its preeminent context on the center line of the National Mall. The competition-winning design concept provides for a lowered memorial plaza that has a distinct sense of place. It not only allows maintaining the sweeping views between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, but frames and celebrates them. It was long overdue, but know that you served the grateful nation during some of the most trying times our nation has ever experienced. Also know that you, are veterans of the greatest generation, led by example, and showed the rest of the country what patriotism was all about. Your memorial is a result of a design competition. Friedrich St. Florian, the world-known architect, was born in 1932 in Austria. He moved to the United States in 1961, where he became a U.S. citizen in 1973. His entry for the design of the memorial was chosen from over 400 entries. Your memorial adds an entirely new type of memorial to Washington's unique memorial landscape. In the peaceful gathering space around the basin of the rebuilt historic Rainbow Pool, with its splashing fountains, invokes celebration and contemplation. The basin and pool are sunk 6 feet below grade. It contains sacred ground from all of our national cemeteries. The memorial celebrates the triumph of democracy in the mid-20th century while enriching the lives of all those who visit it. The design development of the World War II Memorial between 1997 and 2002 was perhaps the most closely monitored design process of any major public monument in the history of the National Mall. 3 major commissions and federal agencies acted as guardians of public interests, as well as standard bearers for design excellence and urban design integrity. There were 22 public hearings that the public at large was invited to attend before the commissions and federal agencies voiced their final opinions. Public involvement was reflected in nearly 1,000 newspaper articles across the country. Here is Senator Bob Dole, himself a World War II veteran. He was the man behind the movement to have the World War II Memorial built. Without his efforts, the memorial would not have been made possible. We owe a big thank you to Senator Bob Dole. And here's a ground level shot of the memorial, looking from the Washington Monument towards the Lincoln Memorial. One of the issues in the placement of the memorial that people were afraid it would spoil the clear and open view from the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Well, you can see it didn't spoil a thing, it actually beautifies the view between the two. And here you see a view from ground level of your memorial. The Memorial Plaza is the centerpiece of the memorial. The surrounding stone structures stand tall and silent, like guardians that protect and preserve the legacy of World War II. The stone structures are full of meaning. 2 pavilions at the north and south side of the plaza represent the 2 principal theaters during World War II, the Atlantic European Theater and the Pacific Asiatic Theater. These pavilions honor the men and women who fought during World War II. Suspended laurel wreaths in each of the pavilions act as metaphors for the victorious warriors coming home. Finally, there are the waterworks. The waterfalls. The fountains. The pools that are the very heart and soul of the memorial. Their joyous animation, sound, and movements are celebratory in nature, recalling one of our nation's finest hours. Still, there is a fine line between celebration and glory. Wars must be remembered, but never glorified. Wars are destructive upheavals causing unspeakable suffering to families all over the world. There are times, however, when a free people are called to defend the principles and ideals that they believe. World War II was such a moment in time. This picture is the bronze medallion under the archways, the entrances to the memorial. Here, 2 archways, the Pacific and Atlantic, represent the 2 main theaters during World War II. These arches are 43 feet tall. Standing under them, looking out at the basin of the area, of the memorial area, is an awesome view. And this is the Pacific Archway. Going down the walkway into the memorial on the left are pillars representing the then 48 states and 8 territories during World War II. From the Pacific Archway, the 4th pillar represents the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois, the home of Pillars of Honor. The state of Illinois, home of the Stanley Cup champion Chicago Blackhawks and the Chicago Cubs. But wait, there's more. The 6th pillar to the left represents the state of Ohio, the home of Earl Morris. Anybody know him? The founder of the Honor Flight Network. Ohio, the home of Tri-State's Honor Flight. Ohio, the home of the Cincinnati Reds. Home of the Cincinnati Reds. Maybe there's more. Ohio, the home of the college football champion, Ohio State Buckeyes. This is your state. This is your state. To the program. This is the Pacific Archway looking through to the Atlantic Archway. You can see the size of the people compared to the archway size. The pavilions are surrounded by 56 stone pillars that are 17 feet tall. Each pillar represents a state or territory during World War II. This is the roll call of the nation. The home front standing as an active embrace, bonded at the bottom with symbolic bronze ropes. Here's a view of the Atlantic Archway looking towards the Washington Monument. At the western side of the Memorial Plaza is the Freedom Wall. Here is where we mark the price of freedom. There are 4,048 sculpted gold stars that will remind future generations of the supreme sacrifice without which victory could not have been achieved. Each star represents 100 Americans who died during World War II. 404,800 Americans. A loving sacrifice by so many American families. This truly beautiful view was taken behind the Freedom Wall, looking towards the Washington Monument. And here's a tablet at the top of the grassy area going down to the memorial area. It reads like this: here in the presence of Washington and Lincoln, one the 18th century father, the other the 19th century preserver of our nation, we honor those 20th century Americans who took up the struggle during the Second World War and made the sacrifices to perpetuate the gift our forefathers entrusted to each of us, a nation conceived in liberty and justice. There are 16 different quotes engraved in the memorial. This one is by Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, and it reads like this: they fought together as brothers in arms, they died together, and now they sleep side by side. To each of them we have a solemn obligation. And here's another inscription, this one on the Atlantic Archway. The war's end. Today the guns are silent. A great tragedy has ended. A great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death. The seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere walk upright in sunlight. The entire world is quietly at peace. And here's a quote by President Harry S. Truman. Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifice. And this is a nighttime view of the Washington Monument. The inscription is by Franklin D. Roosevelt about Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. A date which will live in infamy, no matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion. The American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. And here's a beautiful shot of the center pools, the very living center of the memorial. And here we have a picture of the bas-reliefs that are on each side of the grassy area going towards the Washington Monument. Each of the 24 bas-reliefs are handcrafted out of bronze, depicting different scenes during World War II. They include jungle warfare, Lend-Lease, a bond drive, women in the military, the Battle of the Atlantic, the Air War, Rosie the Riveter, paratroopers, the Normandy beach landing, tanks in combat. You know who this is? I'm sure you do. Most people from your generation recognize this silly little drawing. There was one person who led or participated in every combat, training, or occupation during World War II and the Korean War. This person could always be counted on. GIs everywhere considered him the super GI. He was the one who always got there first, or was always there when they left. I am, of course, referring to Kilroy was here. Somehow this simple graffiti captured the imagination of GIs everywhere they went. They scribbled a cartoon face and words everywhere throughout the world. Stories abound. But did you know there really was a Kilroy? Yes, there was. He was James J. Kilroy of Boston, Massachusetts. He worked at the Fore River shipyard. James's job was an inspector. His job was to count rivets on ships that were being built and chalk his name when the job was complete. In reality, there were thousands and thousands of Kilroys inspecting and testing material used by our GIs all over the world. There's no doubt that the original urban design strategy, which was to create a public forum, an open and welcoming plaza, is the memorial's greatest asset. It is a forum that invites visitors to contemplate, reflect, and remember. Set between the iconic and towering memorials to Presidents Lincoln and Washington, it speaks to the continuity of ideals and principles of our founding fathers. Ladies and gentlemen, today, Pillars of Honor proudly presents your traveling World War II memorial.
Sidestep. Heart.
The story of World War II has been told and it's been written. But your story hasn't been told. Each of you veterans are a living part of history and need to tell your story to your family, to your friends.
Prepare, left.
the World War II Memorial is not a memorial to war. It is rather a memorial to those men and women who served to preserve our nation, the men and women who paid the ultimate price of freedom for you and me. The World War II veterans in this room played an important part in serving our country. To all the veterans in the room today, from my family, from the Pillars of Honor family, from the city of Mason, Ohio, from the United States of America, we want to thank you for your service to our country. We want God to bless each one of you. God bless America. Thank you for serving us.
I get the hard part. I get to follow all of this. But I am Noreen Lake. I have the privilege of serving on the Pillars of Honor Board. I serve as the treasurer. And I also have the privilege of saying thank you to so very many people that helped put on today's program. I don't know where to start, and I'm not picking any particular order, but I do want to thank the City of Mason and Mayor Dave Nichols and City Manager Eric Hansen. Thank you so much. You have given us the warmest welcome that we have ever gotten, and we do get some wonderful welcomes from the venues that we have done, but you have outdone yourself, and we truly appreciate it. So thank you and the City of Mason for inviting us here. They gave us such a warm welcome yesterday, and then you gave us a beautiful welcome today with a nice white blanket of snow. Also, the other person that was so important to this and did so much work, Mr. John Looker. I was not going to forget you. We've been in this process about 6 months with John to put this together. So it's been a privilege. And John, you're just wonderful to work with. And we do so much appreciate everything you've done, not only for this, but for what you've done for our country. I want to thank the American Legion, Post 194, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 966. These gentlemen came here early in the snow, and they practiced this morning from 10 o'clock until you guys got here. We taught them all these things this morning. So, gentlemen, you did a wonderful job. And our Air Force ROTC, ladies and gentlemen, they came in, they were not scheduled. As you can see, because of the weather, we had a number of substitutions in the program. But you came in and you took over this, and I'll tell you, you unveiled it the best of anybody ever. And Mrs. Elaine Santos, she had practiced with her girls, her choir, and they couldn't make it because of the weather, but Elaine, you also did a wonderful job today. Thank you so much. And a last-minute substitution, and I mean a last-minute substitution, Kim Zimmer from the VFW Ladies Auxiliary. Thank you for coming up and helping us with the prayer. And I also want to thank the Rolling Thunder Chapter 9 for coming out today. I appreciate you coming here and being part of the program. As I said, my name is Noreen Lake. My father was a World War II veteran, so that's my connection to doing this. We love what we do. We are all volunteers. Some of us are still working and took a vacation day yesterday. We came in yesterday in the nice weather, and we will be heading home tomorrow morning. So it's about a 5.5-hour drive for us. So after we're done here, we gotta pack all our stuff up. We have a rental truck. This is our 800-pound baby, and we have had it for just about 5 years. In August, it'll be 5 years. And we have the privilege of having this. And our whole goal is to thank the World War II veterans for so much that they've done for this country. So thank you guys, ladies. I hope you've enjoyed the program. I hope you've learned a little bit more about your memorial. Like I said, we do enjoy doing this. It's very important to us, and we all have our personal reasons for doing it. We are a non-for-profit organization, and we have a table back there with some nice little memorabilia items. If you're interested, please see Karen. She told me, don't tell anybody to come back here. Well, Karen, I did it. So they're all gonna go by and at least say hi to her, okay? We'll drive her nuts. She's back there. Also, pictures that have been taken today, we hope to have up on Facebook soon, so check us out on Facebook and also on our website, but give us a little bit of time to get that. Look us up on Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us. We will be traveling in Illinois. Our next couple of programs will be in Illinois. We try to do at least a program a month, and we trying to see what else I have to remember. Did I remember everything? I mentioned the pictures. I always ask the guys and they always say, okay, you're good. So one last thing we'd like to do, and I am a group singer. I sing in a chorus, but you don't want to hear me sing, trust me. So Elaine is going to come and help us, and let's all join in with her and sing God Bless America.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from the mountains, through the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you. Thanks, Elaine. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, veterans, for coming. Thank you, family members, for sharing them. There's a few goodies in the back. Please stay, come and see the model. And thank you again, City of Mason.